गजानना 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 प्रथम पूजन गणराया गणराया लंबोदरा गणराया गजानना गजानना प्रथम पूजन गणराया गजानना गजानना प्रथम प्रार्थना श्री गणराया लंबोदरा गणराया लंबोदरा गणराया गजानना गजानना कमलदल अतीव मनोहर अंतर्यामी प्रभु परमेश्वर अंतर्यामी प्रभु परमेश्वर अंतर्यामी प्रभु परमेश्वर अंतर्यामी प्रभु परमेश्वर माया मानुष साई देवा मधुसूदना केशवा माधवा जय देवा मधुसूदना जय देवा मधुसूदना नीलकमलदल दिव मनोहर अंतर्यामी प्रभु परमेश्वर माया मानुष विषयनाधर माया मानुष जय देवा मधुसूदना साई देवा मधुसूदना माधवा जय देवा मधुसूदना
जय जगदीश हरे जय गोविंद हरे
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 नित्यानंद ब्रह्मानंद जय गोपाल हरे
नित्यानंद ब्रह्मानंद जय गोपाल हरे
साई नित्यानंद ब्रह्मानंद जय गोपाल हरे
साई नित्यानंद ब्रह्मानंद जय गोपाल हरे
अरुणाचल शिव त्रिशूलधारी शिव
अरुणाचल शिव त्रिशूलधारी शिव
अरुणाचल शिव त्रिशूलधारी शिव
अरुणाचल शिव त्रिशूलधारी शिव
हरिनारायण ओ साई नारायण ओ
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 जय देवी भारती विद्यादायिनी अन्नपूर्णमतौ
विद्यादायिनी अन्नपूर्णमाता
जय जगदीश हरे जय गोविंद हरे
जगदीश हरे जय गोविंद हरे
नित्यानंद ब्रह्मानंद जय गोपाल हरे
साई नित्यानंद ब्रह्मानंद जय गोपाल हरे
अरुणाचल शिव ओ त्रिशूलधारी शिव
अरुणाचल शिव ओ त्रिशूलधारी शिव
हरिनारायण ओ साई नारायण ओ
हरिनारायण ओ साई नारायण ओ
जय देवी भारती विद्यादायिनी अन्नपूर्णमत
जय देवी भारती विद्यादायिनी अन्नपूर्णमाता
जय देवी भारती विद्यादायिनी अन्नपूर्णमत
जय देवी भारती विद्यादायिनी अन्नपूर्णमाता
जय जगदीश हरे जय गोविंद हरे
My heart is beating, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. My
heart is beating, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
My heart is beating, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
My heart is beating, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Keeps on repeating, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Keeps on repeating, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Keeps on repeating, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Sai Ram, 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 with every breath of mine, Soham Sai Ram. Thoughts, speech and action, Sarvam Sai Ram. With every breath of mine, Soham Sai Ram. Thoughts, speech and action, Sarvam Sai Ram. My soul eternal, Atma Sai Ram. My soul eternal, Atma Sai Ram. My bliss eternal, Ananda Sai Ram. My bliss eternal, Ananda Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram,
Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
With every breath of mine, so hum Sai Ram.
With every breath of mine, Soham Sai Ram.
Thought, speech and action, Sarvam Sai Ram.
Thought, speech and action, Sarvam Sai Ram.
My soul eternal, Atma Sai Ram.
My soul eternal, Atma Sai Ram.
My bliss eternal, Ananda Sai Ram.
My bliss eternal, Ananda Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram,
Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
My heart is beating.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो
शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो.
शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो
शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो.
भवहर पुरहर पुट्टपर्तीश्वर शंभो शंकर सदा शिवो
भवहर पुरहर पुट्टपर्तीश्वर शंभो शंकर सदा शिवो.
भवहर पुरहर पुट्टपर्तीश्वर शंभो शंकर सदा शिवो
भवहर पुरहर पुट्टपर्तीश्वर शंभो शंकर सदा शिवो.
ओम शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो
ओम शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो.
कैलासाचल बाल शिवा कालकूटधर बाल शिवा
कैलासाचल बाल शिवा कालकूटधर बाल शिवा.
कैलासाचल बाल शिवा कालकूटधर बाल शिवा
कैलासाचल बाल शिवा कालकूटधर बाल शिवा.
केळीलालस बाल शिवा लीला तांडव बाल शिवा
लीलालस बाल शिवा लीला तांडव बाल शिवा.
केळीलालस बाल शिवा लीला तांडव बाल शिवा
लीलालस बाल शिवा लीला तांडव बाल शिवा.
ओम शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो भवहर पुरहर पुट्टपर्तीश्वर शंभो शंकर सदा शिवो
भवहर पुरहर पुट्टपर्तीश्वर शंभो शंकर सदा शिवो.
ओम शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो
शिव 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 शिरडि पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो.
कैलासाचल बाल शिवा कालकूटधर बाल शिवा
कैलासाचल बाल शिवा कालकूटधर बाल शिवा.
केळीलालस बाल शिवा लीला तांडव बाल शिवा
लीला
शिवा लीला तांडव बाल शिवा शिव 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 शिरडी पुरीश्वर शंभो शंकर सांब शिवो जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
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 जय जय राम साई हरे
जय जय राम साई हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय 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 जय राम साई हरे
जय जय राम साई हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण 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 हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरे
शांति शांति शांति
I offer my most humble and loving salutations at the divine lotus feet of our most beautiful, most loving Lord, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, loving Sai Rams to all of you. What a beautiful day it is here in Southern California, and what love we have felt actually throughout the weekend and today. And there couldn't be a more fitting place than the abode of supreme love for us to be able to share that love. So to all of you who are joining us here today, welcome. To all of you who are joining us actually online from one of the 114 countries that the SSIO basically oversees all over the world, we also hope, as Brother Leonardo said yesterday, love is the most immediate power that we have throughout this world. We can travel to the sun in a second. So we hope that you are also being able to feel the love that is taking place in this room here today and throughout this weekend, and we hope that you will stay with us. To all of you who are joining us for the first time today, welcome. We've been missing you. We are happy that you finally joined us today. Can we have a big round of applause to those who... We have been waiting for you. And we promise not to rub too hard, actually, what a magnificent conference we have had here over the last couple of days. We promise not to rub too hard the fact that we started this conference with perhaps the best panel discussion, at least I have ever been privileged to attend, in terms of interfaith, where every single participant, every single interfaith leader resonated perfectly with Swami's teachings. Not only that, they extolled the work of the organization, having visited this place for the very first time. And not only that, immediately on stage, many of the interfaith leaders offered their partnership with the SSIO to be part of the divine work. Isn't that fantastic? If you're joining us for the first time today, we also promise not to rub too hard that we have had amazing sharing of experiences over the last couple of days. Unique experiences. You cannot find these in the internet. Only here you can find them. Not only that, these experiences so sweet, soul-stirring by alumni, young adults, and seniors of the organization. We promise not to rub too hard the fact that we have had wonderful workshops, so intense and so thought-provoking and so inspirational that people have already signed up, committed to the work of those committees itself before they left the room. And of course, as it is always the case, we've had fantastic young adult programs and devotional programs. So if you're not able to be here today, we hope that the next time you can join us. And again, we're not done yet. Why? Because there is so much more yet to share where that came from. Swami is a God of abundance. As Leonardo shared yesterday, I will never disappoint my devotees. There's so much more yet in this weekend yet to come. As Brother Arvind shared yesterday, when he was going to go in the train, and he was expecting nothing actually, Swami not only brought one sweet, he brought 2 sweets, not only 2 sweets, an entire box of sweets. So brothers and sisters, in this weekend, Swami is going to bring that box of sweets to us. And not only Mysore pak, ladu, jalebi, not only that, we actually have international sweetness. We have ice cream. We have all of these, we have all of these sweets that the local team has blessed all of us and given us throughout this week. So as we get started with today, I'd like to share a few housekeeping announcements, if we can kindly have the slides. So please maintain silence and decorum befitting of a Sai gathering at all times. Turn off your mobile phones as well. The conference room doors will be closed 10 minutes prior to the beginning of the sessions. And guests are requested to wear footwear in the following areas: requested not to wear footwear in the following areas. In the altar area, the meditation room, the Dwarakamai, the worship room of Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and the floor seating areas as well. Restrooms for ladies and gents are on the rear side of the building, as well as next to the tents where we have our meals. And please drive slowly and safely, as Swami himself would actually tell us. In terms of the food, please do not bring any beverages or food into the primary meeting areas, the meditation room and Dwarakamai room. All meals, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner, will be served outdoors on all days. It's a beautiful weather out there, so we hope that everybody's enjoying those meals. We request ladies to exit from the lady side and gents to exit from the gent side. And the SSC students will be served first to facilitate the orderly distribution of food. A quick look at today's program. I will touch upon each one of these points as each individual item is introduced, but it can give you an idea of what the program looks like today. Do we have another slide? Okay. So that's the morning for all of us. But before we get this wonderful program underway today, we should start with the highlight of the day. Perhaps not the highlight of the day only, or certainly the highlight of our life, and perhaps the highlight of lifetimes, which is, as Swami tells us, the boon that sages and saints have been praying for ages. And that is the divine golden voice of our beloved Bhagavan. And today, he will share with us the secret of life as it relates to the practice of service, the spirit of service. So let us attentively enjoy this beautiful talk by our beloved Swami. Jai Sai Ram.
కనుకనే సేవకు ప్రప్రథమలో దానికి తగినటువంటి గుణములు మన యందు ఉన్నవా లేదా అనేటువంటి ఆత్మ విచారణ జరపాలి.
It is in this context we must make a self-inquiry to find out whether we have all the requisites and qualifications to undertake service activity.
దీనికి ప్రధానమైనటువంటి గుణములు దయ, వినయము, త్యాగం.
The important qualifications which one should have for undertaking service activities: compassion, humility, and courage.
ఇట్టి గుణములు ఉండినటువంటి వ్యక్తి మాత్రమే సేవయందు పాల్గొని స్వార్థరహితమైనటువంటి యొక్క సేవను సలిపి జగత్తుకు ఆదర్శవంతమైనటువంటి మార్గాన్ని అందించగలడు.
Only those people who have these qualities and qualifications can undertake service activity and hold themselves and their actions as an example for the world.
అహంకారము చేత, ఆడంబరముల చేత, అభిమానము చేత ఇందులో ప్రవేశించినటువంటి వ్యక్తి ఏమాత్రము కూడాను సేవను చేయలేడు.
A person who is given to egoistic feelings and ostentatious behavior and attachment can never undertake service activity and perform it well.
అహంకారము చేత మానవత్వాన్ని విస్మరిస్తాడు మానవుడు.
Man gives up his very human nature itself on account of egoism.
అభిమానము చేత పశుత్వాన్ని పొందుతాడు.
On account of attachment, he develops animal feelings and animal qualities in him.
ఆడంబరము చేత కేవలము ఒక విధమైనటువంటి కృత్రిమమైనటువంటి ఒక జీవితంగా గడుపుతాడు.
On account of showy nature and ostentatious behavior, he becomes artificial in his actions.
కనుక ఆడంబరం ఉండినంత కాలము, అహంకారంలో మానవుని యందు చేరినంత కాలం కూడాను వీనికి ఆత్మవిశ్వాసము లభించదు.
So long as a person has this ostentatious behavior and ego sense, he can never develop self-confidence in him.
ఆత్మవిశ్వాసము లేనటువంటి వానికి అన్నియు సందేహములే.
For a person who does not have self-confidence, every step he is faced with a doubt.
ఇలాంటి సంశయములు కలిగినటువంటి వాడు తనను తానే నమ్మలేడు.
A person who is given to such doubts can never have faith in himself.
తనను తాను నమ్మనటువంటి వ్యక్తి ఇతరులు ఏ రీతిగా నమ్మగలడు?
a person who does not believe himself, how can he have trust in others?
తనను నమ్మక ఇతరులను నమ్మలేనటువంటి వ్యక్తి ఈ సమాజంలో సేవను ఏ రీతిగా సాగించగలడు?
A person who has neither faith in himself nor belief and trust in others, how can he undertake service activity in the
కనుక
society?
మొట్టమొదట సేవలో పాల్గొనుటకు ఉత్సాహపడేటువంటి వ్యక్తులు అహంకారాన్ని నిర్మూలన చేయాలి.
Therefore, in the very first instance, this egoism must be destroyed by people who want to undertake service
ఆడంబరమైనటువంటి
activity.
వృత్తులకు సమాధి కట్టాలి.
They should put an end to this ostentatious behavior and show.
అభిమానాన్ని ఆవల నెట్టాలి.
They should remove attachment.
సేవలో అహంకారం పోవటమే దీని యొక్క ప్రథమ కర్తవ్యము.
The very first instance, he has to remove ego sense when undertaking service activity.
అహంకారం పోయినప్పుడే వినయం ప్రాప్తిస్తుంది.
Only when one gives up egotism, one can develop humility.
వినయవంతుడే సమాజ సేవలో పాల్గొనుటకు అధికారి అవుతాడు.
Only a person who has humility has the authority to undertake social work.
కనుకనే ప్రతి మానవుని యందు ఉండినటువంటి యొక్క దివ్య శక్తి ఏకత్వమైనటువంటిది అని భావించి ఏకాత్మ భావాన్ని అభివృద్ధి పరచుకోవాలి.
One has to recognize the fact that in every human being the same divinity is existing, and with that unifying sense he can undertake activity.
ఏకాత్మ భావన లేనంత వరకు కూడాను మానవుడు ఈ సేవకు అధికారి కాలేడు.
So long as he doesn't recognize the same underlying divinity existing in everyone, he would never be able to have the authority to undertake
సేవకుడు
social work.
కాక నాయకుడు కాలేడు.
Without becoming a servant, he can never become a good leader.
ఈనాడు సేవా విధానమును గుర్తించలేనటువంటి వ్యక్తులే నాయకులు కావటం చేతనే లోకం ఈ విధమైనటువంటి అల్లకల్లోలములకు ఆలవాలమైంది.
Today, the world has become to such a chaotic condition because people who do not know how to serve others have become leaders.
Thank you, dear Swami, for such beautiful, sweet words. It is now my great delight to introduce our keynote speaker for the day, Dr. Jivanandam. Dr. Jivanandam is a professor of surgery and chief cardiac surgery and director of Heart and Vascular Center at the University of Chicago Medicine. Dr. Jivanandam has performed over 1,500 heart transplants. He was one of the physician leaders of the transplant team that made history in December 2018 after performing 2 triple organ, which is heart, liver, and kidney transplants. There have been 25 such procedures done in the world only, and he has performed the heart transplantation operation for all 13 done at the University of Chicago. His personal and professional life has been transformed by our beloved Lord, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, who affectionately called him his coconut tree. You will soon see why. He's coconut tree heart transplant surgeon. He's an exemplary devotee with complete faith in Swami. I personally think that it is so fitting that in a conference dedicated to love, we have a doctor of the heart, Sai Ram.
My humble salutations at Swami's divine lotus feet. And Sai Ram brothers and sisters, what a wonderful day, what a wonderful venue to talk in. It's such a beautiful place. And you guys really set me up because, you know, you never want to follow somebody who is incredible, and you make me follow Swami's talk. That's, I almost don't need to give the talk anymore because Swami said everything that I have to say. So he's always taking all my words. So I will probably just be more of a reiteration of what Swami said. But, you know, I took this opportunity to kind of think about seva and think about the different types of seva and, you know, maybe put it in a different form that, you know, Swami has already talked about. So the topic of my talk today is seva through daily living. Have the first slide? Are we going to see the slides? So Swami says, Seva, there you go. Next slide. Is selfless service. And, one of the sayings that Swami says is help ever, hurt never. And it's something to remember, right? It's like the Hippocratic Oath. You never want to cause harm to people. And this service needs to be done with dedication and compassion. And the important thing, as Swami has said, is that you cannot expect an outcome. So there should be no expectation of an outcome or recognition. You may end up getting it, but you should not expect it. And that is not why you should be doing the seva. You should be doing it because of inner peace and what is the right conduct and what's the right thing, but not expecting an outcome or recognition. Should not be doing it for a personal reward. And so you need to go deep inside, and the person that you need to reward is yourself, right? Swami's in you, and that's what the arrows say. You have to go inside and reward your inner Swami. What you do should not have external recognition. It really needs to make you feel like you've done the right thing. There are different forms of seva. Donations, of course, are critically important. Without donations, you can't have beautiful buildings like this and all the work that we need to do. There's volunteerism, where you can volunteer, and kind of the epitome of that is my mother. I mean, she taught me everything about volunteering, and she's 83 and she has problems with her hands and her legs, and she still does all the volunteer work in Arizona. But then what I want to concentrate today is on kind of the inner seva, right? Things that you don't see externally, but are critical to dharma or the right action. Next slide, please. And for that, I'm going to start here. So this is Swami Super Specialty Hospital in Puttaparthi. It's on top there, and they perform completely free surgery. The one thing missing in this entire hospital is the billing department. And they have performed thousands and thousands of surgeries, particularly open heart surgeries, completely free of cost over the last 3 decades. Now, I'm going to, next slide, please. So when we talk about inner seva and doing things without recognition, I want to point out some people here. So this is a group of the professionals who work in that hospital in cardiac surgery. Dr. Neelam Desai has been there for about 25 years, 30 years, and the others have been there since the hospital actually opened. They were handpicked by Swami to be there in the hospital, and they perform incredible service, right? They lovingly take care of their patients, and they've taught me so much about how you can give love to patients. Now, one could say, yes, they were there because Swami was there. They were able to interact with Swami, and that's what kept them there. But they've all been there after Swami's left as well, and they continue their incredible, dedicated work. And that is kind of true inner seva, right? They're not getting the external recognition for it from Swami, but they know that's the right thing to do. And even most of them are retired, but they're still working there with selfless service. So to me, that's kind of the epitome of what you call a selfless service. Next slide, please. Swami's given me the opportunity to volunteer there since 1995. I've tried to go every year, of course, during COVID, not been able to. And people say, oh, it's great, you do volunteer work, that's fantastic, right? So is that true seva? And, this talk has had me thinking about this. And yes, I mean, maybe I volunteer there, but I did get things out of it, right? I got to be closer to Swami. I was able to interact with him, talk to him with his interviews. And it's funny, Swami says, you take 1 step towards me and I'll take 10 steps towards you. And this has been absolutely true because it's made me a better surgeon. There are things that I do in the operating room in Chicago that people don't know how you do it. And a lot of that is because of all the very complicated surgeries and the pathologies and the different things we've seen actually at Swami's hospital. And Swami is actually transformed me. Swami always makes fun of me. He says, oh, this is my transplant surgeon, my coconut tree transplant surgeon, and he'll tell people, but I'm the only one who can actually transform hearts. And that's what Swami's done. Next slide, please. So my first real interaction with Swami was in 1995 during the 3rd International cardiovascular symposium, and we had an interview, and there was about 20 people there of real luminaries in cardiac surgery, people like Donald Ross, who's known for his procedure. I mean, there are people there that have written the books, and I was a very young cardiac surgeon then. And Swami would go from person to person and say, well, this is this person, and he's done this, and he's a great surgeon, and this is a great surgeon. And then he looked at me and he said, oh, he's a good surgeon. And, I said, okay, well, this is good. Swami's giving me the opportunity to become a great surgeon, because I am young. I have to reach the status of these luminaries. And then it was interesting because then right afterwards, Swami gave a discourse. And during that discourse, he talks about great surgeons, people who are versed in books and who do research and who can talk well. But he says Swami likes good doctors. And what is a good doctor, right? A good doctor is somebody, as Swami has defined, who listens to patients, who has compassion towards patients, who cares about patients and goes that extra mile towards patients. So that has kind of resonated in me, and every time I see a patient, if I'm in a hurry or I'm trying to get away, I can still hear Swami's voice in my mind say, he's a good doctor. So what is this inner seva? That inner seva is going beyond what are requirements and expectations. We're all compensated well as physicians, right? But what are we doing beyond our compensation? What are we doing things that are not compensated for that particular patient to make them feel better? And that is what is right. That is doing what is right and not what is convenient. As a cardiac surgeon, you may say, well, I'm going to do that extra bypass graft. I'm not going to get paid extra for it. It's going to take more time, but it's the right thing to do, right? You strive for perfection because that's what Swami would want you to do, right? If you have, a lot of surgeons may say, this valve is kind of moderately not working well. Okay, we don't need to take care of it. We can get away with it. Or you can say, well, I'm going to do what is absolutely right for the patient and try to make them as perfect as possible. So, and when you talk about helping others in seva, there's patient care, and I being a cardiac surgeon, have different patient care than other doctors, or even different things that we do in our work. But I can equate things to patient care, and the one things that I would say is, we take care of patients who refuse blood transfusion. They're the Jehovah's Witness patients, and they're really discriminated against, right? Like a lot of surgeons or teams don't want to take care of them because they're very handicapped when you can't give them blood. In cardiac surgery, about 50%, 60% of patients get blood, so you immediately become a very high-risk patient population. And it's interesting because I was in Puttaparthi. The first time I went to Puttaparthi, we did a very complicated case, and I turned around and I said, well, let's give the blood products, let's give the blood, the plasma and the cryoprecipitate, and they all looked at me and goes, sir, we don't have a blood bank, or we don't have all those things. I said, oh, okay, how are you going to take care of this bleeding? He said, don't worry, we have volunteers who donate blood. So I said, well, that's not going to be enough. So they came back with the unit of blood, and they gave that blood, and boom, everything just stopped bleeding, right? That was my first thing about, there's magic about warm, fresh human blood. And I had never seen something work like that before. And then we have these Jehovah's Witness patients who refuse blood, and we use some of that ideas in terms of storing their own blood just before surgery, and then after surgery we can get them to stop bleeding. And so some of the things that I actually learned in Puttaparthi I use now, and for the Jehovah's Witness patients, they come in from all over the country, and they come to us because they're discriminated against, right? They're underserved. People don't want to take care of them because they're too difficult. But something that we do at University of Chicago, because Swami's taught me that you have to go beyond. So when we go beyond, they take 50% longer to do, they hurt my back more, they're a lot more stress, but you're helping people. And that is the type of inner seva that we all should be doing throughout our life in everything that we do. How else can you help others? You can teach people, right? And we can instruct our residents, our fellows, our students, and you don't know exactly, again, it can't be our expectation that they become everything that we tell them to do. The expectation should be that we're teaching them, and whatever they pick up, they can pick up. And of course, there's mentoring, right? So this is another thing. It's uncompensated. You get a lot of people, students from all over the world, kind of ask for advice. And spend time with them, right? Spend time, sit down, talk to them. The 10 minutes, the 15 minutes you may spend with them, well, may actually end up changing their whole career, their pathway. You don't know how you're going to affect somebody, but you will affect people. And you'll find out 30 years later that they've been affected in different ways. And so that mentorship is actually an interesting concept. And, next slide, please. So this is the University of Chicago Medicine. The 4th floor there is our heart and vascular floor. It's like a heart hospital within a hospital. And there's a picture there of our executive director, Colleen. So Colleen's interesting, right? She's not a Sai devotee. She's not religious, but she's the most spiritual person, although she doesn't think she's spiritual, right? And so what we've been able to do around that entire floor is create a sense of seva, create a sense of passion. And, next slide, please. So this is kind of an example here. All our nurses on that floor will wear these shirts. And these shirts say, University of Chicago Heart and Vascular Center, but look at what it says underneath: love all, serve all. And that is the type of passion we're trying to instill in everybody on that floor when they give care to our patients who come in from all over the world. So next slide. So I'm going to end pretty quickly here. This is a letter from one of our patients, and it's a long letter, but next slide and the next slide. So I'm going to summarize here, right? It says, "Dear Dr. J and the Heart and Vascular team." So this patient, this is the wife writing about her husband, and her husband was a heart transplant patient. He was turned down in multiple hospitals because he was very complex. No one wanted to spend that extra time and energy to take care of him. And he says, and I'll read it here, it goes, this is paraphrased from her long letter, right? So it goes, "You are all kind, positive, and gave us hope. Mark and I have been at Cleveland Clinic, University of Michigan, University of Pittsburgh, and other large hospitals. Mark and I agree that the incredible treatment, caring, and compassion you all showed Mark and I was unlike anything we've ever experienced at any other team, at any other hospital. It goes on to say, your healing comes from a place of love, commitment for caring for others as your life missions work. I feel a deep reverence for your spiritual way of life that's evidenced in your work, interaction with patients, families, and colleagues." Next slide, please. So that is seva, that's inner seva, that's deep seva, and I think that's something that's what Swami was talking about. We should all do that in our lives on a daily basis. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Dr. Jivanandam, a true doctor of the heart. Now, we move on to the next section in our agenda today, and that section is titled Swami's Love in Action, SSIO Transforming the World. This is a section that we started yesterday, if you recall, with the humanitarian relief presentation. And now we will hear from the different zones that comprise the SSIO, and a very brief, maximum 5-minute report from each one of them on highlights of how is it that Swami's love and message is being taken to every corner of the world. We would actually like to start with Zone 1, our host zone, and I would like to call on Dr. Phil Goslin for that sharing session. Dr. Goslin, thank you.
Sai Ram to everyone. And even though all the work is done by the local devotees in the local region, I welcome you all on the basis of this zone to this retreat. Thank you very much. Jai Sai Ram. And Nilesh, some slides. We have just a short time, so offering my pranams to the Sathya Sai in all of us. These are some programs and initiatives in the zone that have happened in recent times. All of our regular programs are continuing, but I just decided to show a selection of things that might be of interest to you. So the zone is roughly North America, but it's basically the English and Dutch-speaking countries of the Western Hemisphere. And going from south to north, let's start with the West Indies. Next slide, and then the next slide. And a lot of programs in multi-faith have been happening in the Trinidad area, and this first one is commemorating the YA's work with Muslims to facilitate their recent holiday, and with prayer groups and arranging for many programs for them. Next slide. And also for the Buddha Purnima programs, and the next slide. And then also taking it out to people that can't attend in person, particularly during the pandemic, but also because travel can be difficult in outreaches there. So a virtual interfaith public. Okay, next slide. And medical camps are an important key seva in West Indies. Recently, Guyana fibroids seva was done, but this slide commemorates a medical camp in Jamaica. And next slide. And there was a retreat in January. Leonardo and Hari Kanjivaram and myself were speakers. And the next slide. And this is the new Sai Retreat Center there, built by devotees, and it's adjacent to a giant temple, very, very beautiful temple there. So this was wonderful for all of us. Gautam Tiwari, the central coordinator for West Indies, is here if anyone wants to talk to him later about any of these programs. Next slide. And also are very proud of our schools in Trinidad, 6 schools, and doing very, very well. Next slide. And in the U.S., next slide. A variety of different programs. I just selected a few. These were workshops, a lot of online programs, very creative, that have been developed in the last year. So again, President Harish Naidu is here, and some of the other national officers are here also you can speak to. Next slide. And this is a resource for SSE, and you'll see at the bottom there, you can access those resources, satyasai.us education resources. Next slide. And a variety of different seva projects, tutoring programs. Shiva Paturi is looking for people to take this out to an international level. Then there's work with refugees and ongoing humanitarian relief. Next slide. And the YAs have done a lot of work in mental health in terms of putting together programs that might be scaled up, that might be useful in other places in the world also. Next slide. And again, here's some parts of the different series that have been presented already. And I think Srikant Vaidyanathan is here. He was someone that could, if you wanted to speak to him about this further. And next slide. And I wanted to highlight this. A lot of work has been done recently in the women's program. Lakshmi Vyakaran is here, and I believe there's going to be a women's workshop. And this slide is about peer engagement. And next slide. And coming to Canada, next slide. And a lot of online. Canada's a place of vast spaces, and particularly with pandemic, so a lot of online programs. There was SSE Festival online. And next slide. And also having the alums, SSE alums, work with the and present to the present students as a way of passing on wisdom that's been gained. Next slide. And also national study circles, and this one was on the Dharma Vahini. And next slide. And national bhajan workshop, and again, online nationally. Next slide. And EnviroCare. So again, we're all looking to scale this up around the world. Next slide. And again, I thank you very much and pray that you have a wonderful retreat and that Swami bless you all. Jai Sai Ram.
Now we invite 2A about
I offer my words, my thoughts, my actions to Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Sai Ram for all of you, dear brothers and sisters. Sai Ram. I'm happy to be here, and I would like to share with you through a video how Swami is transforming our lives in Zone 2A. Sai Ram.
Zone 2A of the SSIO, comprising Costa Rica, Cuba, El Salvador, Guadeloupe, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic, carried out the following activities during 2022. In the devotional area, El Salvador held its first face-to-face retreat called Who Am I? On April 14 and 15 with an attendance of 30 people. In Mexico, the national retreat Back to Myself was held on April 14 to 16 with 160 participants. On October 8th, Guatemala also had its first in-person retreat titled Sai Baba Has Called Us, with an attendance of 21 devotees. In El Salvador, from November 25th to 27th, the first in-person retreat of leaders from Region 21 was held, with the participations of leaders from Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Panama. The objective was to achieve integration, consolidation, and expansion. Another noteworthy activity was holding a public meeting in August 28th in El Salvador, titled Spiritual Revolution, with an attendance of 60 guests, where the main speaker was Dr. Ganesh Yatlapalli from the USA and Oscar Morado from Mexico. In August, the national gathering of devotees was held on a mountain in Bonao, Dominican Republic, with a participation of 82 people from the country. Mexico had its first post-pandemic values walk, with the participation of 100 people and 14 volunteers.
In Costa Rica, Dr. Hari Conjivaram gave an inspiring face-to-face talk. Despite economic and governmental restrictions in Cuba, devotional activities continue to take place. In the service wing in Nicaragua, 21 food hampers were delivered to street vendors and workers at La Reinaga landfill in Managua on December 30th. In commemoration of Swami's 97th birthday, 60 bags of baby clothes were delivered to the National Hospital in Panama. And in the Dominican Republic, a medical service was organized in Las Palmas de Herrera community for 97 patients, 58 adults and 39 children. During August, October, and November, the Sai brothers in Costa Rica prepared food to deliver to Venezuelan migrants. In Sai-Med area, medical camps were reactivated in several countries, beginning with Mexico on October 22nd at the Sathya Sai School in Cuernavaca. In October 23rd, 4 general practitioners provided medical attention to 62 children at the Iztapalapa Community Center. In Guadalajara, on December 4th, 25 people received medical consultation in the Matamamon community of Santo Domingo. 4 doctors and 20 volunteers from the Dominican Republic provided medical care and donated medicines to 125 people. On December 4th, another camp was held in El Salvador, in the community of Jayaque, where 3 doctors and 6 volunteers gave consultation to 110 patients. In the education wing, the most notable activities were the first stone ceremony of the Sathya Sai Secondary School in Cuernavaca, Mexico. In Panama, the bathrooms of the En Busca de un Mañana school were repaired and remodeled. In Haiti, with the sponsorship of the Bon Timon Foundation and the SSSIO, new facilities were built in the three schools. The Sathya Sai School in Guatemala won an award for academic excellence. In addition, students won second place in volleyball at the Central American Games held in Honduras. In Mexico, the young adults had their first retreat post-pandemic, called Inner Peace, which was held from August 5th to 7th and had 35 attendees. A series of leadership webinars was also carried out with guest speakers such as Shruti Vijaya Kumar and Freddy Perez Simosa. On January 9th, in the Dominican Republic, the Give Me a Toy service took place, where 16 young adults and 6 senior devotees delivered 500 toys to the children of Katanga. And to celebrate Children's Day, 11 devotees attended the Gosen orphanage to donate food, socialize, and eat in the company of 20 children and staff.
Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Brother Oscar. Now, moving on to South America, we have Brother Kishore Nanwani, who will actually share with us the activities in that zone. Thank you.
Sai Ram. Good morning to all of you all. It's wonderful to be here. I want to thank everyone who's made all this possible. Just an opportunity to thank you all here. The Zone 2B consists of 10 countries. It's, in the north region, there is Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, and sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. Sorry. It's Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, and the south region we have Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Chile, Bolivia, and Paraguay, of course. We have a small video with the most some of the activities. Of course, there's much more, but we just like to highlight some of them. So let's see the video, yeah? Thank you.
Om Sri Sai Ram. I offer my humble pranams and all my love at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Lord, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Dear Dr. Narendranath Reddy, Prashanti Council Chair, Prashanti Council members, World Foundation members, Zone Chairs, dear brothers and sisters, loving Sai Ram to all of you. I would like to share some highlighted activities we've had in Zone 2B, South America, over the last year. At the end of April 2022, we had a major human values event for society, which included walks for values in several cities, mainly in our Sathya Sai schools.
Se han ido perdiendo o dejando a un lado, no perdiendo, sino dejando a un lado, haciéndonos olvidadizos de los valores. Algo muy importante para nuestras vidas como seres humanos. Y sobre todo, el respeto y la tolerancia.
A second prominent event that we had in August 26, 2022 was the tribute of the Federal Senate of Brazil to our Institute of Sathya Sai Education for its 22 years of service to society.
É realmente um privilégio, um grande privilégio estar aqui com vocês no Senado Federal
E os valores que a Fundação Sathya Sai está tentando promover precisam ser apreciados e disseminados.
O Instituto se faz presente nas várias regiões do Brasil através dos seus núcleos. A educação em valores humanos, gente, não traz novidades. Ela simplesmente restaura aquilo que foi esquecido.
Eu me tornei professora para dar aula na escola Sathya Sai de Goiás, porque não servia outra escola. Eu vi que ali era o lugar que eu conseguiria fazer isso, que eu conseguiria mudar o mundo.
In November 2022, we had a Thanksgiving Mass for all 500 patients, in addition to the doctors and volunteers of the 1,000 Cataract Surgeries Project that SSSIO of Paraguay took on in 2019 for the 100th Advent celebration of Sri Sathya Sai.
Realmente me acordaba de mis padres, me acordé de mi mamá que me decía nunca te olvides que sos un instrumento, y realmente un instrumento puede ser algo abandonado en una esquina que no tenga ningún valor, o puede juntarse como esto y formar una gran orquesta que suena linda música y que esperemos nunca termine.
Porque para nosotros como fundación ha sido muy relevante el poder asistir a todos los pacientes a través de este programa Sai Baba, que nos dio esta oportunidad para poder devolver la vista a tanta gente, y es gente realmente necesitada.
Finally, we share the visit that the Indian ambassador to Brazil made in March this year to our Sathya Sai School of Goiás in Brazil. With this, I conclude my presentation and wish you all a happy and holy conference. At the Divine Lotus Feet, Jai Sai Ram.
We now welcome Brother Krishna Nair from Zone 3 to share with us the activities in Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Jai Sai Ram, everyone. I bring you greetings from the land down under. Our zone presentation today will be on the theme of this conference, love and service. Can I have the next slide, please? Over the last couple of years, members of Zone 3 have celebrated and participated in a number of service activities, including tree planting, food donations, blood donations, and a relief response. You can see there the sort of activities that have taken place and all the statistics associated with it. Next slide, please. As with many other countries around the world, Zone 3 countries have had their fair share of natural disasters like bushfires, cyclones, and flooding. Our members sprung into action and provided the necessary relief effort. As you can see there, last year actually, we had the Lismore floods, we had the Queensland floods, and then the Queensland bushfires. These not only affect human beings who have lost all their property, but also the wildlife of Australia. Next slide, please. We also engaged in tree planting, and more than 900 trees are planted there in close association with local councils. We are very fortunate that local councils come to us and say, please work with us to plant these trees. They've got the facilities, they provide the saplings, and our members go there and help them. Not forgetting our wildlife, during the bushfires, a lot of the koala bears lost their habitat, and many of them were actually burned, and they were brought in, and our members in Australia actually had cut fruits to feed them, supply water and milk and so on. And lately, the wildlife services, Sydney Wildlife Services, approached us with the help with the possums. These are, you can see the cute picture there in the bottom. They are about the size of a domestic cat. And these poor creatures have lost their homes, so we made these little pouches for them, and also the boxes for the adult ones, for them, for a new habitat for them. Next slide, please. Our Sathya Sai school in Australia has now got we got both a primary and a secondary campus. We got about 159 students in the primary school. 165 is the maximum capacity, and we are fast approaching that. And in the secondary, we've got about 120. And I'm very pleased to say our first batch of HSC students entered university last year. The school was also recognized with an award for being environmentally conscious. Most environmentally conscious school in the local council area. It has a zero plastic policy. In 2022, the school was awarded the most resilient by the New South Wales state government with respect to how the school handled the flood and flood disruptions, how we actually continued with the classes and so on. Next slide, please. Sai Health Week. We came up with a program called Care for the Caring, which is an initiative developed by the healthcare professionals in Australia and the Institute of Sathya Sai Education Australia members to spread human values into the healthcare community. The frontline workers, particularly in the healthcare area, were suffering a lot following the post-COVID period, and we wanted to help them with their healthcare. So we ran a pilot program with medical unit volunteers. It's a digital self-care tool, daily positive affirmations based on Swami's teachings, presented in a neutral way. So it's not just for Sai devotees, anybody can come and participate in that. It was developed in Australia initially, then we spread it out to Zone 3, and now it's been approved for international adoption. Next slide, please. We were very fortunate in February this year to have Brother Arvind Balasubramania with us. He gave a very inspiring talk both in Australia and New Zealand, and it was very well received by the members, particularly the young adults. Next slide, please. In New Zealand, they had a very active tree planting program, and tree planting and tree restoration is a regular ongoing service conducted throughout the year in collaboration with other community members. You can see the tree planting activities there. We planted something like 800 to 1,200 trees in Hamilton, a suburb further down from Auckland. And we have also adopted 3 young tree restoration and weed stamping projects that are taking place. Next slide, please. Not forgetting our school in New Zealand, we have got a preschool there in a place called Rangomai. And here, to keep the cost down, our volunteers go down to the school and provide the cleanup, and they have regular working bees there to do the maintenance work at the school. Next slide, please. Fun Day Out for our special children is an annual event since 2016. There was a short period of hiatus there, except during the COVID period. And the SSSIO New Zealand, in collaboration with interfaith friendship groups and the Auckland Council, conduct this for children with special needs. It is something that the kids really look forward to. Next slide, please. Moving on now to Fiji, the Vaisesi Health Center is a permanent primary health care facility providing about 100 consultations per day. This is an outpatient unit. In 2021, the center became an emergency birthing unit for Lautoka Hospital due to the COVID closures. The Lautoka Hospital became closed for just COVID patients only. So we had 21 maternity staff from the main hospital deployed to this health center to provide emergency obstetric services. So we had to convert that very quickly from a health center into a maternity hospital. The first baby was born at the center at 3 a.m. on the 6th of February, 2022. And the Sai family, of course, it was not equipped for anything there at that time. The Sai family assisted in acquiring beds and equipment and accommodating the maternity staff. Next slide, please. This model town charitable welfare trust is a privately run organization that actually provides homes for the less fortunate people. In Australia, we call it the Housing Commission, but it's a government-run organization. Whereas here in Fiji, a private organization provides accommodation for about 1,100 families. During the COVID period, they had a lot of problems in even feeding these people. And our members there in Fiji actually took up the challenge, and the Sai service organization there provided food packs for all the residents in that area. You can see there a token letter. That's just an excerpt from the letter from the project manager. And it says there, the Sai service organization, kind generosity towards the most vulnerable families and individuals in Korapita, ensures that these individuals had food on their tables in a clean, safe home to live in. Next slide, please. We also have the Sathya Sai School, a primary school in Fiji, and this school has been winning a number of competitions. It is organized by the Lautoka City Council, where the school is based. The Sathya Sai Primary School is categorized as in the rural division, and from 2017 to 2022, the Sathya Sai Primary School has been winning the overall winner's title in the rural division. Next slide, please. Medical camps is a regular feature, and some of the places, remote places in Fiji, they haven't had any medical facilities at all. So rather than having this all in the capital cities, our medical team actually go to all these remote areas and provide medical care. And this is a service that is jointly, it's a combined Zone 3 medical service, a project with the SSIO New Zealand and Fiji. Next slide, please. You can see there the services that are being offered. You've got medical and oncology, stroke medicine, a whole variety of medical services. Over a 5-day period, we had provided something over 2,000 services, medical services, and about over 300 dental services to all the patients. Next slide, please. Thank you very much indeed, brothers and sisters. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Brother Krishnan. Now, from the land down under, we move up to Southeast Asia, and that is very good. We move with zest. And it's my honor to introduce Brother Manoj Kumar Singh, Sai Ram.
My humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Swami. Respected elders, brothers, sisters, and young adults. I don't know why Zone 4 has got a liking for 4 numbers. So we are in 9 countries with more than 40,000 devotees. We have 4 Sathya Sai schools and 5 institutes. And we have more than 4,200 SSC students. So there's affinity with number 4. We have 1 Christian country, 2 Muslim countries, and 3 Buddhist countries, and remaining countries, they have all the faiths they practice. So it's a mixture of all the religions, all the faiths, and diversified culture. So I'm not going to tell much stories, but because the work in all the 203 centers in my zone is going on regular, but I've highlighted 3 incidences which are a little unique from the normal ones, which are some are recent and some are the past ones. So first one is, I start with Indonesia, which is earthquake-prone area. Last year in November 21st, there was an earthquake happened. Our devotees rushed to the island and came back. When they came back, the people on the island, they said, "You all come from different places and you serve our people. You inspire us to serve them. Can we join with you?" So they said, "Why not? You come in." But they said, "We are very poor. How can we help? We are poor barbers." He said, "Come, give haircut to all the people." And they went, they gave haircut to nearly 200 people, the 3 barbers, full day. And all the people who were affected, they're very happy. You will see in the video. The second story is post-COVID in Philippines. Our devotees were serving to the local communities, and they found that there were some people, some children, suffering from cerebral palsy. So they thought what we can do for them. And that is how they said that let's teach them how to draw and paint. So the devotees hired some teachers to draw and gave paint supplies. Look and behold, within 6 months, the children picked up so well that they organized an exhibition for them, and all the paintings were sold, and the money which was collected was given to these children. But the biggest benefit was that these children, they learned that they are worth something. And the third story is, which was 2-3 years back when Dr. Reddy announced that we are going to help the people in Africa. So the SSC children, SSC teachers, they thought, what we can do? So they thought, let's sensitize this event, that we are going to help the children in Africa. And it was so a small incident. They told all the 300 students that we are going to help people. We need support money, and we have to give money to them so that people are hungry. It was so sensitized that there's a bigger enthusiasm of the children and the parents, and there is large sum of money. So I'm not going to tell. The video will tell what is the story. It's not counting on my time. Huh?
We are gonna deliver it on Friday. On weekend. On the weekend. Bye. Bye. Love you. Love you.
So this ends my presentation, but I take some more time. I have a request to all the delegates here and those who are watching online that we are going Zone 4 and Zone 5. We are going to organize a similar retreat in Sri Lanka on 28th, 29th, and 30th of September this year. And I open this invitation to everyone and each one of us to enjoy the Sri Lankan hospitality. And there's a teaser for it. Please have a look so that you can be inspired to join. So the plane lands in Sri Lanka. I think I can see many of you in that. We have a huge capacity of 1,000 people capacity, so please don't worry, we can have more also. Thank you very much for joining and listening to me. Sai Ram.
Thank you, brother. Now we invite the zone chair for Zone 5, which is East Asia, Brother Ashok Sakrani, to share with us what is happening in that zone. Brother Ashok, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, the first thing I'll say to you is I don't quite have that big bang. The second thing I'll say to you, and I think Dr. Reddy knows this about me, but certainly Anupam knows this about me, I have the bad habit of having been a barrister for 30-odd years at the Hong Kong bar. And the consequence of that is we do not do presentations with visuals. And so sometimes I don't have visuals, and today is one of those times. COVID wreaked havoc in the 3 countries in our zone. And I think many of you would have heard that China lifted their excessive COVID restrictions very recently, in Hong Kong as well, and China's been afflicted. So a lot of our activities over the last few years has been very much online. And so what I'd like to do, using this opportunity, is just to tell you a little bit about the 3 countries and what characterizes them. So in our zone, we have a lot of Japanese devotees who speak only Japanese. We have Chinese devotees who speak only Chinese. And then we have Indian devotees who speak the Indian language and English, of course. And then we have Nepali devotees, many of whom only speak Nepali. And so there's a rich diversity in the zone. Beginning with Japan, I'm very proud to say that it is one of the countries in the Sai fold where almost the whole Sai population is Japanese. And the whole leadership team is exclusively Japanese. Which means that for me to communicate with them, I'm desperately relying on one Sindhi man to help me. And that's Mr. Lachu Chablani, and I'd like to acknowledge him here today. There's one thing about the Japanese devotees, and they're deeply devoted to Swami. And to highlight some of the things about them, they chant Vedas better than many Indians do. They do a lot of translations of of Swami's discourses and his books into the Japanese language. And they've done a lot of translations of bhajans into the Japanese language. And they've written many, many new bhajans in the Japanese language. And so if there's one thing I'd say about Japan, they have really localized Swami and Swami's teachings. They do a lot of online study circles, and as testimony to their dedication, not only do they weekly practice the Vedas, but they have weekly study circles on the Vedas. And then they have ladies' wing study circles and general study circles. On the education wing, they have also done a lot of translation, and they have taken some of the translations of the education teachings and Swami's teachings to public forums where they've made books available. Moving along to China, there are two centers in China. One is a small center run by the Indian business community on the coast in Guangdong province, in Guangzhou city. And the other one is also in Guangdong province, and it's in the interior. And that is quite a fascinating place because they've actually built a one-story huge building on a private plot. And the logo of the Sai organization is on the front of the building, and it actually says Sathya Sai Baba Center. And for those of you who know China will know that that is just not possible without Swami's love and grace, because everything is monitored by the public security. And for this to have happened, information must have been relayed up to Beijing. The devotee that center is founded by mainland Chinese devotees with support from other Chinese devotees from around the region. And the devotee who was inspired to lead this at that time was a businessman. And I'm not sure myself how he navigated all the rules and restrictions. But this is where Swami's grace comes in. Since that time, he has become a member of the Communist Party and has developed close relationships with the Public Security Bureau. And that is how this continues to function. And so when Hong Kong devotees have gone there, Singapore devotees, other Chinese devotees from around Southeast Asia, we have supported them in the seva work that they do. And the Hong Kong devotees have helped rebuild part of a local school, distributed stuff for the students, etc., just to give them a presence and to identify their contribution to the community there. I'd like to take this opportunity to speak about two incidences which I came across when I visited there a few years ago. And we came across one of the men who was a devotee who was part of the building team. And he was telling us that in the course of construction, there was one particular wall which they had a lot of difficulty with. And then one night, Swami came in his dream and said, "These are the calculations which have been misdone. Go please redo them." And of course, he went back and he checked and he found the calculations had in fact been wrongly done. And then we came across another girl who I didn't speak to her originally, and she was, funnily enough, doing some dancing in the middle of a hall, very much like this. And Sister Poonam, our zonal secretary, spoke to her, and then she called me over and said, "You should listen to her story." And this is a Chinese lady who at that time was about late 20s, early 30s. And she spoke how in her home in that province, Swami came in physical form, and she saw Swami in physical form. And so the whole experience in that center, I will just say to you, is just simply inconceivable unless this is the will of Swami himself. Staying in China, I'm very happy to report that since 2003, the Institute of Sathya Sai Education in Hong Kong has been doing teacher training seminars in China. We were very fortunate to meet a professor from a university in Guangdong, and Dr. Reddy, I think you've met him when you came. And he came to Prashanti Nilayam about early 2000s when there was an education conference. And he was once found sitting outside Swami's residence and just staring into the building. And clearly Swami had inspired him to take the work back to China. And through his connections in the last 20 years, we have managed to train over 1,000 primary school teachers in the SSEHV program. And the training that is done is not in a 3-day workshop. I have to acknowledge Sister Margaret Taplin and Sister Mogi Nayarga for leading the academic work. The training is done over a year, and through the professor at Guangzhou University and his team of education students and PhD students in education, we've built up a secretariat. So a lot of translation work or communication work is done through that secretariat. And the 10,000 odd teachers that we've trained, 1,000 odd teachers that we've trained has involved provincial officials, it has involved head principals, and has also expanded to reaching out to some of the parents. And so that's been really, really satisfying. Another point in that training process is some of the students produced their own papers on SSEHV, which we encourage because we thought that's the best way of localizing the message of SSEHV. I had the privilege of, on a few occasions, traveling to China, and I learned a lot. There was one occasion we went to a province just next to Tibet, so it was a long flight. And I must tell you, sometimes you wake up in the morning in one of these small hotels, and on that occasion it was a Muslim hotel, because that community had a lot of Muslims and Buddhists. And it was $10 a night. And after a long day at the schools and a dinner with the teachers, you go back into your room for the first time and you see the small little room and you're saying, Swami, what am I doing here? But that was a great experience. On another occasion at another university, they allowed me to speak on leadership and teachers. And we were in a big auditorium and I was waiting my turn to speak. And 5 men came in and they sat right below me in the row right below me. And you automatically don't get a good feel about this. But then sure enough, it was my turn to speak. And I spoke about leadership principles. And I remembered that Swami always says, obey the law of the land where you are. So I was anxious to repeat that line there. And then at lunchtime, when we were having lunch, we asked who were these 5 men that came into the auditorium. And sure enough, they were secret police. And they'd come into the auditorium, not because of us, but because they were looking for Christian missionaries who were doing work on the university. So it's been a tremendous experience. COVID, of course, pushed everything online, and so we hope to continue. I'd like to close off with Hong Kong. The organization was established in about 1977, and it's got a big presence in the Indian community. There are all the 3 wings, education, service, and devotion. We have a ladies' wing, we have an active young adults wing, and Dr. Reddy, you were there and visited. The education wing includes a very, very large Bal Vikas wing and community projects of teaching English to local schools and using SSEHV in that process. The Seva wing is one of the leading local organizations that distributes food to the homeless. And it started in about 2011 or 2012. And I'm glad to say from that time until today, we have distributed over 250,000 meals to the homeless in Hong Kong. And the team has built up now so that, in fact, about 30% of the team are not even devotees. They never come to the center, but they want to be part of us. And we're also a training ground because a lot of other Indian spiritual organizations, they had people who came for our sevas, and then they learned the whole routine, and then they went off and they started distributing food to the homeless. And so that is very pleasing because not only do we offer the seva ourselves, but it's good to be able to propagate the seva principle. And that is what is now happening in Hong Kong in the education field. The devotional wing has translated books and articles into Chinese, And we published what is, for me, my pet seva, which is the Sri Sathya, which is an annual magazine that we put out, and some of you may have seen it. I conclude by saying that tomorrow we will have our first tree planting activity in Hong Kong under Sai 100. And next week we will have our first mental well-being activity also under Sai 100. Jai Saram.
Thank you, Brother Ashok. Now we move on to Zone 6, in close to Mediterranean waters, basically Southern Europe, and we invite Brother Adriano Bratovic to share with us the activities of that zone. Saira.
Dear brothers and sisters, loving Sairam, salutations to Sai in all of you. It's indeed an honor and privilege to be together here with you. Nilesh, could you kindly start the presentation? After hearing all this presentation and the big bangs and so much love, then I somehow felt that what South Europe has to present is a bit different. But then I was recalled of a story that Swami told about when the Rama wanted to cross to Lanka. Then the Vanaras were building the bridge, but there was some small squirrel that was putting sand in the ocean, and they were laughing to this squirrel. But he said the purity of her heart and intentions are important. So in South Europe, maybe the projects are not so big, but the intention, the purity, and the love is definitely there. The first slide represents the countries. If you go back just to the countries of South Europe, including UK and Israel, it is 14 of them. You can go to the next slide. We will just highlight a few activities that we feel most inspiring. This is the interreligious meeting that was held in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was organized by the Franciscan community, and the former NCP of Bosnia made a very beautiful presentation, short but inspiring presentation about Sathya Sai, his ideals, teachings, and the Sathya Sai organization. Please, the next slide. And of course, as we all have the opportunity to witness here at this conference about the interreligious meeting, it was also, there was music programs in different language and in different faiths, and you all felt what an impact these meetings have, what a beauty and importance they have for all of us, for the community. So this is one of them, and the atmosphere was similar to this that we felt 2 days ago here. Please, Nilesh, next slide. The next event that was very inspiring was the Peace Conference in Israel, organized by Buddhist practitioners, the Tibetan Buddhist practitioners. And our organization was, it was some 200 participants. It was inspiring talks, meditations, dance, music. You can go to the next slide, Nilesh. Our dear Brigitte Kashtan, NCP for Israel and the Central Coordinator, had a talk entitled Unity in Divinity in the Light of Human Values, and she also, it was followed by a study circle. It was a very wonderful, important event. Next slide, Nilesh, please. This is an online training program for public school teachers. We have been blessed that in Italy, the Ministry of Education and the Italian government recognized the Sathya Sai education, and we are allowed to actually present it publicly, and it can be integrated in the public school. So the online training program was aimed to the teachers, public teachers there, and in 7 consecutive sessions, they had the opportunity to get a glimpse, a vision of the of the program itself, of its influence, deep transformative influence on children, on teachers, and on parents, and also how it is actually seamlessly integrated in the curricula of any program, public education program. So it's a fantastic thing, actually. We've had the opportunity to do such things, and it will be continued in next modules in the future. And the last slide, Nilesh, please. This is something that will be held in the nearest future, but since it's a Sai 100th initiative, we would like to share it with you. It is a public conference in Spain entitled Unity of Head, Hands, and Heart. And our dear sister Raksha Matani, which is Deputy Center Coordinator for Region 61 and 62, will be a keynote speaker. On the right, you can see the poster presented in order for the occasion. Thank you very much, Long Sai Ram, for all of you.
Thank you, Brother Adriano. And now we move on to Northern Europe. And to present this segment, we have the zone chair, Brother Manfred Müller-Granzi, who actually was the MC yesterday. So, Brother Manfred, Sai Ram.
Thank you, Swami, for giving us the opportunity to talk about the work we are doing in your name. Dear brothers and sisters, I'm not going to show you any slides. I'm not going to talk to you about the regular activities in the educational, in the devotional, or in the service wing. I'm not even going to talk about activities that are going on in Northern Europe in Zone 7. So you might ask me, why are you up on stage then? I'm going to talk to you about a very special kind of love and service. This is caused by two major incidents. One is the recent earthquake that took place in Syria and Turkey. And you have to imagine, we hear news on the TV and in the radio every day. Yes, there is an earthquake. More than 50,000 people lost their lives in one day. And that means what we could show you on a slide is not a beautiful building. It is just bricks and nothing else left. And right at the moment, we are building up a bridge of help to Syria and to Turkey in order to ease the pain of the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who lost their homes. That is one activity. And it is caused by a natural catastrophe. And though this is very difficult, and it makes it even rather impossible to speak about happiness or about a smile, but a natural event comes to an end. And then you can start to rebuild, and it will be forgotten one day. Another catastrophe that happens in our neighborhood is the war that is going on in the Ukraine for more than a year now. Ukraine is our neighbor in Northern Europe. And we didn't have any war going on for more than 70 years. Suddenly, we are confronted with that. And the result out of this is that more than 6 million Ukrainians suddenly were refugees and had to leave the country. More than 4 million of them are hosted in Poland. More than 1.5 million refugees are hosted in Germany. But most of them still stay in their country, in their home country. And you have to imagine, in the meantime, because this war doesn't discriminate between civil objects and military objects. There is a country, there is no water supply any longer. There is no electrical power supply any longer. There is no gas, there is no oil, there is nothing. And imagine you live there and it is 20 degrees minus outside, and the only heating, the only fire you may find comes from the neighboring house, which has just been bombed and is burned down. We started immediately, and when I say we, then I mainly speak of Sister Dr. Berger, who is standing over there. She immediately started to work because she is the humanitarian relief coordinator of Zone 7. She immediately started to build up a network in order to organize our help. And within this past year, we were able to send truckloads of food, of water, of hygienic articles, of medical devices, and of everything which was needed, sleeping bags and whatever you can imagine. Every month we were able to send truckloads over to the Ukraine, and we have quite a lot of devotees of the Sri Sathya Sai International Organization remaining in the Ukraine who help us to distribute it all over the country. And every month, these truckloads of goods that are urgently needed are worth about 20,000 euros each month, which is only possible due to the help we get from the Sathya Sai World Foundation, from our devotees in Northern Europe, and from all of you who help us to support this bridge of help. So let me offer our deepest gratitude to all of you that you make this incredible service possible. This is about service. But what is even more important is the information about love. And this is why I asked my colleague sister over there to join me on the stage. Because Angelica is 24 hours, 7 days a week in contact with our Ukrainian brothers and sisters. And what she has to say are the experiences of love our Ukrainian brothers and sisters experience in these hard times, where they still know that Swami is with them. And we just want to share 2 or 3 very short stories about what we've heard out of the Ukraine. Angelica, please.
Om Saram. First of all, I'm happy to be here, and dear brothers and sisters, just give me some time to listen to some short stories I'd like to give to you. So Manfred told a lot about what we are doing, and now it's months of 13 or 14, we are giving constantly relief to Ukraine, which is a long time, and still, just even in 2 days, the next medical transport will arrive in Viennitzer. It's on the way, so it's just a currently ongoing process. I'm in contact with the Ukrainians, and we are, we do the SIVA job, coordinating and so on. And for more 1 year, I'm in contact with them, and you just know it touches a lot for me. It's even being with people who are in a war, who are struggling and have pain. It's just on the very special level, let's say. It's mind-blowing. So I changed myself a little bit, and I'm just a Bhagavad Gita reader all the time, and reading the Mahabharata and just changing this to find a way to handle with the situation anyway. But to say about the Ukrainian devotees, I'm so impressed. So what they're doing, they're still being together in a way, if it's possible, so they have doing a lot of online satsangs, in case they have power supply, or internet, and they have meetings as they can. I asked them, what are you doing? How are you doing with this kind of struggle? And they're saying, they're praying a lot, sitting at home and do meditation. And there's one story. It was a hard day for me, I just remember, but the story was, one day in Viennitzer, there is the wife of the National Seva Coordinator in Ukraine. She wanted to go to the market to do some things. And her husband Dima, stopped her and said, "Oh no, please stay here. Let us have a cup of cappuccino." So she stayed with him, and exactly in that time there was a bomb attack in Viennitzer at this marketplace, and many people died in that time, and she survived. This is one of that stories. There are hundreds of it. Another story is from Tatiana. She's from East Ukraine. She's a National Council president, and she's close to Sumy. And in the beginning of the war, many, this army stuff was there, all these army planes and trucks, just in her village where she's living. And she told me that she was so afraid of all of that, the vibrations, just the plane underneath her house. And she remembered Phyllis Crystal. She remembered this kind of work Phyllis Crystal teach so many people, and she started to sending light to the Russians, to the soldiers, sending light to the Ukrainians and all the people around. And what happened in this area, in this village, no one got hurt. No one died, all saved. So. And one, I don't know if Manfred recognized it, one day I got a picture. It was of one of the affected areas where a Sai devotee lives. She is also a strong believer of Maria and Jesus. And one morning she went to her altar, just doing some prayers. And what she was seeing, that Vibhuti was materialized on her altar on the photo of Maria and Jesus. And this is such a sign that Swami is there, God is there, protecting them all the time. And these are only 3 stories you just heard from me. There are a lot of them, and helping the people on site. So I told the Ukrainian Sai devotees I'm here, and they're really happy to be here. I told them part of me in my heart is with them. Part of me is Ukrainian. I'm a German, but I'm so in my heart with them. And they told me something else. The most important thing is they know that we are with them. The Sai family is with them, and they know that we are praying for them and giving so much support. And this is mostly the power that they get to go on and serve in action and be safe and yeah, have a good life. So, no, I'm speaking Manfred. I'm speaking so. Oh.
Just to finish, even in these hard times, they find happiness due to you who include them in your prayers, and that's what we are grateful for. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Brother Manfred and Sister Angelica. What a touching set of circumstances and stories. Very special work indeed. Thank you so much. And now we would like to invite the zone chair for Zone 9, Brother Samba Sivarao, to share with us what is taking place in Africa. Now, a quick time check. We know that it's past 10:30 right now, and we're due for our break. But I'm sure that all of you will agree right now that these stories and the kind of work that we're sharing is extremely important when it comes down to divine love and service, which is the theme of this conference. So after this presentation, we will have a few announcements about what's going to take place after the break and after lunch, and then we'll let you have the break. Thank you so much. Saira.
My humble pranams at the lotus feet of our Bhagavan, our Lord Sri Sathya Sai Baba. I think in whose divine presence we are all assembled to have wonderful, this congregation of the devotees from around the world. I think this is his divine planning and divine, plan which probably Swami had for many, many years. And this is what a wonderful Premanilayam. And I couldn't believe, and I am last 3 days, we are all living in full of bliss. So, thank you. I would like to just enlighten of all the activities going on in Africa. And first of all, greetings from the continent of Africa, where Swami has blessed with his physical presence. So we have totally 23 countries in Africa, serving Swami day in, day out, 365 days. These are the countries, and we have really very, very, large, space, and we have multiple cultures with the different languages, French-speaking, English, and other so many, African languages countries, including Iran, So we are really, truly blessed. And our number Swami has given for Africa is number 9, his number, And, and this is what Swami, during his visit in 1968, this is all with East African devotees in Uganda. During this time, I think like our brother Anupam said, a very, very unique statement, which is still, everybody is, trying to understand, and which is the truth. I have come to light the lamp of love in your hearts, to see that it shines day by day with added luster. Dear devotees, immediately after Swami left, hundreds of centers started, forming in Africa, in all the countries. And the luster was there, is happening, and it's going to happen in future in a big way. So Swami must be telling something here to us, because Swami knows Africa is the last frontier of global economy. So that means he's preparing all the devotees under SSIO how we can help this continent of Africa. And also Swami was so kind. Like yesterday, Brother Leonardo Gotter was telling that he will never let down his devotees, because Dr. Patel requested Swami that Swami please visit our Uganda. So Swami accepted that love and traveled all the way from Puttaparthi to Uganda, and that shows love of Swami to the devotees. And it's very interesting, in those days, we had a very difficult dictator in Uganda called Idi Amin. Even Swami allowed Idi Amin to come and take the blessings. Probably he has removed some of his sins he was making it. That is how Swami, acting. Now I would like to, next slide please. The most important activities in Africa, we have here is the spiritual services, education, which is the most important, medical, and young adults, environmental and community service. I would like to highlight a very, very important things happening. We have many things are going on, but I would like to talk about few important things which makes, the lives, how is transformed by Swami across Africa. Next slide, please. We are blessed with a beautiful, center in Nairobi, Kenya. When the devotees went to see Swami quite some time back, almost 20 years back, Swami said, you will have the most beautiful center will happen very soon. So in Nairobi, we have a center with 80,000 square foot, which is all multi-purpose prayer hall, including Swami's, and we are, I think Dr. Reddy Garu, the entire Prashanti Council member, visited during the celebrations of the Swami's visit, the Golden Jubilee visit to Kenya. So this is one of the centers where people practice, participate, all the global prayers and continuous practices. Next slide, please. And this is another center, and we have in every country we have one center, and it is many of them are owned by SSIO. So this is a center in Uganda, also where Swami was present. Even in West Africa, where Benin, Congo, and Gabon, we have continuously happening. Next slide, please. Now we are talking about the schools here. We have a totally around 11 schools in Africa, and these are some of the schools. Next slide, please. These are region 92, next one, and region 93. So we have totally 11 schools with 2,100 children and 190 supporting staff. Dear devotees, this is a very important seva, because in Africa we say that it takes a whole village to educate a child. And at present, it costs all the Sai schools $350 to educate a child per year. So that means it pays for the school fees, school teachers' salaries, and for the books and clothing, everything. And many hundreds of students have been passed out of the Sai schools, and they are into universities, they are into colleges, and they are into many fields. So this is a great seva to participate. Next slide, please. And this is one of the most beautiful schools in Kenya. This was during the Golden Jubilee visit of the Dr. Reddy Garu and Prashanti Council members in 2018. Now, just one example in the school, we have a boy who's completely, no parents. He completed in primary school in Kenya, secondary school. Now he is studying in the university, medicine and surgery. This is how it happened. Next one, please. Yeah. Coming back to on health, which is also very important for us, we have 4 permanent clinics, and 8,300 people were consulted in the last year, 2022. And we had 1,219 people were treated at the medical camps. A lot of blood is collected in Mauritius, in South Africa, and in the other countries. So this is one of our biggest seva. Next slide, please. This is our permanent clinic in Nairobi, where dental, we have full-time doctors, laboratory and everything. Very modern facility, which was opened by Dr. Reddy Garu during his playing. And this is another medical camp in Tanzania. So we have continuous camps throughout the year in all the countries. Our young adults, are really vibrant, and you all know that Sister Wahini Pillai, she's the leader of young adults SSIO. These are the young adults participating in team building and tree planting. Next slide, please. And these are the young adults from Kenya who always participate in every activity, mostly in the service activities. Now, coming back to most important one is the tree planting. Swami has spoken extensively on the relationship between God, nature, and man. So SSIO Zone 9 has taken up the task of putting up, for Swami's 100th birthday, 1 million trees. So far, the zone has planted 225,000 trees. It was possible because we are preparing nurseries in every country so that the country depends on the capacity. At any given time, in all the countries, we had 50,000 nursery has been built every month. Next slide, please. These are some of the, the statistics. Next slide, please. We are also partnered recently. How can we enhance in a bigger way? We have 2 youth groups in Kenya. For 2023, we are planning 150,000 trees with SSIO in partnership. So this is the way that we are enhancing our tree planting to achieve 1 million. And I hope as an SSIO, worldwide we are going to maybe cross 2 million trees. I think this is the challenge to our other brothers in the other zones. This is a tree planting exercises. You can see, next slide please. This is in Uganda where another very huge plantations are going on. Next slide, please. Yeah. Thank you, Sairam. And before I close, Brother Alex, just 1 minute. Before I close, I want to show you something very, very unique. And this is only possible by SSIO. And no government organizations can do this. Recently, last 3 years, there was huge drought in Kenya. And people were in pain, no food for even 2 to 3 months. And this is one of the miracles which I really, this truly speaking, this is a great miracle which happened to me. So we got a call from very remote area, 450 kilometers from Nairobi, saying that there is 2 villages are suffering and they have lost 10 lives. Immediately next day, probably they were crying for Swami. Next day, I got a call from our, respected and honorable, Dr. Edigaru, saying that, we have some funds from Malaysia, some brothers, and they want to, to do it. What do you want to use it for? Do you want to use it for school? No, we have a call, and we need to give food for 500 families for 1 month where they have not eaten for 3 months. Now, dear brothers and sisters, we thank you, especially the Malaysian brothers. And I would like to enjoy, how Swami has helped these families. Please, the video, please.
On a distribution exercise kindly sponsored by Sai Center, who are very strong partners with the Red Cross in distribution of food. We have today distributed food to 500 families, 250 in Noom and 250 in Somai. We really appreciate the partnership. Thank you, and please let's carry on with this good work.
We are thanking you for the support you have given to us. It will be helpful to our people because some even spend nights without food. So we say thank you for your sincere support. Thank you.
Na tunashukuru kwa usaidizi wao kwa vile wamesaidia community.
Tunafurahia na watoto wako tunafurahia leo. Asante.
This is, and the last one, brother, just 1 second, please. Last one. During, I'm sorry, so I think I got a privilege of the last speaker, and these are the very heart-touching, and the last one. During COVID, I think many of you know, but some of the audience here might not have been known, that this is something, a very unique project only Swami and SSIO can do. During COVID, many countries in Africa has no food. And SSIO, like they are doing now in Europe, received funding from the World Foundation, $250,000. Now, that money was used to procure a food of 250,000 kilos of food distributed to more than 8 countries of 14 containers, in spite of having the logistic problems during COVID, but under guidance of Swami and the SSIO, that we have delivered the food to each and every corner of Africa and saved thousands of lives. Now, this is a small video where in Madagascar, people were eating white clay because they had no food. But we have reached Madagascar very far from the capital of Madagascar, 1,200 kilometers. Our devotees have traveled. This is what is Swami's Leela. I would like to have this just 1 minute. Thank you very much.
Te luan rufeta le mate fa sa tsi mata va ngai zo rene le isa vot na fata se le kerenge vo si misira hafa tsi
Kana ni sirani hanenge dati le ni ruro ho na ti dahi ni gente sirham tiang fai rahina na zo panyang kala sa fa ni ruro ho sinisa zile fai ho ti tupo
అన్నింటికి మనకు ప్రధానమైనటువంటిది సేవనే.
Of all most important thing is service.
ఇట్టి సేవను మనం మరచి రాబోయేటువంటి యొక్క భవిష్యత్తు గురించి విచారిస్తూ గడిచిపోయినటువంటి దానిని గురించి వగస్తూ కాలాన్ని వ్యర్థం చేస్తున్నాము.
We have forgotten our bounden duty of rendering service in the community. We go on worrying of the future and brood over the past.
కనుక ప్రేమ స్వరూపులారా,
embodiments of love,
మనము నిరంతరం కూడాను సేవల కంటే మించినటువంటిది సాధారణమైన మరొకటి లేదు.
We have to recognize there is no other spiritual practice which is more than that of service.
Thank you, Jai Sai Ram. And we thank Swami and our chairman, Dr. Narendranath Reddy, Prashanti Council, World Foundation, continuous support. Otherwise, we could not have done this. Thank you. May Swami bless all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Sivarao. Wonderful work indeed. Brothers and sisters, obviously, we're over time. But we have plenty more activities right now for all of you to be a part of. So if you would just allow me another 5 to 6 minutes so I can go through some important announcements. So first of all, we're going to be extending the break to about 11:15 this morning. So we're going to shorten it. And the workshops will get started at 11:15, 11:20 this morning. We will make that time up, since we have 1.5 hours for lunch, we will make that time on the back end as lunch gets started, and I have some announcements about that. But first, on to the workshops. The workshops that will take place 11:15, 11:20 today are in parallel. Women, the beacons of nations. We know that women are the backbone of society, the motherly energy. Now, that workshop is going to be taking place in what we call the overflow room, but really it's at the very back left room. That's where that workshop will take place. We have very specific instructions that men do not attend that workshop. If you happen to be around, it's at your own risk, and outcomes cannot be guaranteed. So that's where that workshop will be taking place. In parallel to that, we will have the Education in Human Values and Sathya Sai Schools and Institutes workshop, which is going to be taking place in what we call Room 3, which is the very back room after the last set of partition walls yesterday where the medical workshops took place. We will also have, in parallel, a panel discussion on spiritual practices and self-transformation. This will be a Q&A session here in rooms 1, this area here, and 2, which is the middle area. Now, interestingly, self-realization, sorry. Actually, interestingly, we have allocated 90 minutes for that. Swami says we should be able to realize in 11 seconds. So if we see anybody hanging around afterwards at lunch, we will know how effective the workshop was after all. But anyhow, so that will also be 90 minutes. Then we will enjoy lunch again at around 12:45, 12:50. And I'll make some announcements about lunch. But continuing with the workshops, after lunch at 2 p.m., we will have the workshop on sharing Swami's message, public meetings, and community support. And that workshop will actually take place also in room number 3, as well as the overflow area on the back left. And in parallel to that, the much awaited and very popular Sai Spiritual Education workshop, What We Practice, We Become, which will take place here in rooms 1 and rooms 2. Now, with that said, we have a few announcements for this afternoon. There will be a tree planting knowledge sharing at the south side opposite the ladies' registration desk at 1:30 p.m. Everybody is welcome to attend that. Number 2, all of the service projects that you have seen here today presented by the different zones are available in our website at satyasai.org. You can also click on Sri Sathya Sai Universe, and you can enjoy at leisure more of what we have seen here today. The library, if you haven't visited, which is basically on the right-hand side here towards the back of this hall, the library is getting new books today, especially in Spanish. If you haven't had the chance to visit, please do visit. And last but not least, given that we expect that we will have probably a larger crowd today here, especially for lunch, we're kindly requesting the young adults to stay back in this room. There will be an activity that will take place with the young adults, and then they will proceed with lunch probably at around 1:15 or so in the afternoon. With that said, thank you very much for your attention, patience, perseverance this morning on this session, and